At the Battle of Oldendorf, a Scottish mercenary described the horrifying scene, a weakness. A great many killed in the cold brought by the Finns, who professed to give no quarter. This was Hakkapeliitta, the Finnish cavalryman whose presence with fear among the enemies of Swedish Queen Gustavus Adolphus, known for their savage, relentless attack and brutal tactics. To the Catholic soldiers, they seemed to be cavalry that come directly from the hell, and faced with such an act of terrorism, they only say, God save us all. This presentation might make it seem like I'm talking about a terrifying monster that destroys everything in this path, but that's not entirely true. Well, partly. The Hakkapeliitta is a range-like cavalry unit in Age of Empire 3, available only for the Swedes and Russian if you get involved with Finland, can train it at the stable, fort, and galleons, forming an important part of the history of Sweden and Finland. Over the time, they became a symbol of their culture. For this reason, left there into their history. To begin, the name Hakkapeliitta is better described as historiographical term used for the Finnish light cavalrymen who served under the king Gustavus Adolphus of Sweden. The interesting is the term didn't exist at the time, was coined in the late 19th century, being a modified version of the name given to them by forgeries in the Holy Roman Empire, which had various versions such as Hakkapeliitta, Hakkapelite, Hakkapeliit, Hakkapelite, etc. What does this there mean? Well, I will explain in a moment, but first let's answer the question, where they from? To understand the origin of the Hakkapeliitta, we must consider the development of the Swedish cavalry. Traditionally, Sweden was not a cavalry-focused nation due to geographic and climatic factors. The native Swedish horse was small, added to technological gap hindering the formation of specialized cavalry units. However, during the reign of Gustavus Adolphus, military reforms were introduced that transformed the Swedish army across all branches, making the Swedish cavalry more effective in battle. We can summarize the most important reforms of Gustavus in cavalry in the next way. Replace the outdated arquebuses with pistols. This change was inspired by the poor performance of Swedish cavalry against the Polish forces during the Polish-Swedish War. Standardized the use of musketeers among cavalry, known as command shot. Musketeers and field guns were integrated with the horsemen. Cross-trained soldiers extensively. Gustavus ensured his troops could be handle multiple roles on the battlefield. Revived the role of shock cavalry. Transitioned from a missile-focused unit to a shock unit. Their ferocious shares became legendary, striking fear into their enemies. The Swedish cavalry was made up of volunteers who received rewards like good pay, exemption from conscription for their families, and other minor benefits for surviving. This system extended to Finland, the Swedish province at the time. The Finnish cavalry gained renown for this quality, influenced by Eastern riding styles due to proximity to Russia and the Baltic states. Besides, the Finns' natural expertise with horses. All these factors combined made it easy for them to adopt the wide-oriented style of warfare on horseback. The Hakkapeliitta were equipped as light cavalry, armed with bronze swords, two wheel-up pistols, and protected by the buff coat, pole helmet, and sometimes steel breastplates. Their horses, ancestors of the modern field horse, were strong, durable, and well suited for this combat style. Gustavus emphasized the aggressive charges rely on speed and impact. For this reason, they fought with aggressive, unrestrained ways, modeled after Polish winged lancers. Their charges involve attacking at full gallop, firing pistols at close range, and using swords to smash through enemy lanes. Their horses also trampled the enemy infantry. This system replaced the outdated caracol tactic, where cavalry ranks fire a pistol in turn and then retreat to reload. The term Hakkapeliitta was first used during the Polish War in the 17th century. According to Gabriel Reim, a historian and rector at the University of Helsinki, the Finnish cavalry earned his famous nickname after the Battle of Walchów in 1626. A few years later, Sweden entered in the 30 Years' War, and the Hakkapeliitta was already a powerful force, ready to prove themselves on the battlefield. Talking about this war is a little bit complicated, around 30 years with different phases and key protagonists. However, we can summarize it as a religious war with a strong geopolitical context that set the foundation for the modern nation-state term. The Hakkapeliitta were equipped as light cavalry, armed with bronze swords, two wheel-up pistols, and protected by the buff coat, pole helmet, and sometimes steel breastplates. Their horses, ancestors of the modern field horse, were strong, durable, and well suited for this combat style. Gustavus emphasized the aggressive, unrestrained ways, modeled after Polish winged lancers. The Swedish cavalry Back to the main topic, the reason behind Gustavus Adolphus' intervention in the war have long been debated. Some see him as a Protestant hero, while others view him as a driven by economic imperialist. Whatever his motive, his action undeniably changed history. Gustavus landed in Pomerania in June 1630 with 18,000 Swedish troops using Stralsund as a bridgehead. This marking the start of the third phase of the war, known as the Swedish phase. Among his forces were 12 company of Hakkapeliittas under the colonel Torsten Stadthanske. Soon after their arrival, the Finnish cavalry made it infamous at the Hakkapels, named after their fearsome battle cry, Hakkaa, päälle, which gave the name to the unit. They shouted this cry as they charged at enemies, striking fear and confusion. Their success showed that the professional well-armed forces would call them Falcon, how purely equipped for giants or the most horses could defeat them. The Hakkapeliitta also had a reputation for being very quiet outside the battle, which only added to their terrifying presence when they unleashed their war cry. In the following years, the Hakkapeliitta fought against imperialist and Catholic forces, achieving victories in battles like Bredenfeld, Lech, Alta Peste, and Lutzen. However, winning the battle of Lutzen came at a great cost, as the King Gustavus Adolphus died during the cavalry charge he personally led. After Gustavus' death, the Chancellor Arthur Oxenstierna continued his policy, with French support, Sweden and its German allies forming the Hero League in 1633 and defeated an imperial army at Oldendorf. However, in September of 1634, the Spanish and imperial forces won a deadly victory at the Nottingham, weakening the Swedish influence in the southern Germany, and prompting their allies to set a peace with the emperor, ending the Swedish phase of the war. Despite this setback, Sweden and the Hakkapeliitta continued fighting, notably at the Second Battle of Bredenfeld and the Battle of Jacob in May 1648. Sweden and the French forces defeated the Imperial and Bavarian armies at the Battle of Zunhausen, forcing the Bavarians to retreat. Sweden then captured Friesen, Landshut, but failed to take Wassenburg and Muldorf. Their final engagement was a defeat at Dachau in October 1648, after which they retreated. Days later, the Peace of Westphalia was signed, bringing the 30 Years' War to end. With this, I conclude the history of Hakkapeliitta, but there's still one question left. What happened after this event? When the war ended, it's known as if the unit disappeared overnight. At first, I thought there was nothing more to say about them, since I couldn't find reliable sources indicating their later presence in the time. However, after more research, I came across some information that might help answer this question. It's important to know that what follows is just a theory I formulate based on what I've read. After the 30 Years' War, the Hakkapeliitta likely continued serving in the Swedish Empire as a cavalry unit. However, due to the origin of the name, later records never referred to them as Hakkapeliitta. Instead, they were simply listed as the Finnish cavalry regiments. This could explain why the mention of them are rare or non-existent after the war. The term was nothing more than a nickname linked to the battlefield, creating the image of every Finnish charging at 14 km/h towards your face. Cavalry highlights that mention of Hakkapeliitta were most prominent in the early 1630s, but after that, the reference to them dwindled significantly. While we can pinpoint an exact date for the unit's abolition, it seems that the decline was gradual, tied to the change in warfare that reduced the importance of the cavalry overall. Additionally, Sweden's loss of Stormastiden's status contributed to their disappearance. Key events like the Great Northern War and the eventual loss of Finland to the Russian Empire in the Finnish War marked Sweden's decline. This loss also marked the beginning of the Finnish history as a distinct nation, well, at least in theory. An interesting detail about the Hakkapeliitta in Age of Empires 3 is the system of two versions of the unit. The first is the Hakkapeliitta, which we have already talked about. The second is the Hakkapel. The Hakkapel was a fragile but powerful heavy cavalry unit, functionally similar to improved Uhlans with high damage but low hit points. Initially, the Hakkapel represented the Hakkapeliitta in a base game, but in the limited edition, they were replaced with Hakkabuses due to the introduction of the Hakkapeliitta for the sweeps. Despite this change, the Hakkapel remained available in certain campaigns and random maps. The Hakkapeliitta have a relatively strong hand attack, which can be used to charge against light cavalry and range shock infantry. Due to negative multiplier, the Hakkapeliitta hand attack is weak against infantry and settlers. Just as Chevaliers, the Hakkapeliitta is a light cavalry unit. They can be countered by light and heavy infantry, such as skirmishers, musketeers, and chimney runners, for example. Trainable for the fortress age, the Hakkapeliitta are most effective when paired with hussars, where they act as damage dealer while hussars absorb the enemy damage. Their range can be improved through the ranged cavalry card called Upgrade and a Snaplock card. While the Hakkapeliitta are classified as light range cavalry, they do not benefit from the Thin House of Habits card, which reduces train time and enables them to be trained in the Commerce Age. However, the Swedes have the March of Hakkapeliitta. A card can allow you to train them from the Commerce Age and also increase their speed a little. From a design perspective, the Hakkapeliitta in Age of Empires 3 it stays very true to the original concept, respecting all key characteristics of the unit. Both versions of the unit maintain the sense of historical Hakkapeliitta. Interesting detail comes with their improvement. The Inducer and Imperial using the name of Drabans, but why this name? Let me explain. Drabans was historical term for attendants of polywars, especially in the Middle Ages. That term specifically referred to Swedish life war, an elite cavalry infantry regiment responsible for defending Stockholm and serving at the Royal War for the King of Sweden. With origins dating back 1521, the regiment is one of the oldest continuing operational military units in the world. Now let's talk about the Finnish Revolution. Available for Russian and Swedes, there is a possibility to train Hakkapeliitta in a stable, forts, a galleon, only for Russia, and also they can now be upgraded to veterans and Drabans if they haven't already. In addition to this change, there are several cards in the Finnish deck that enchain to Hakkapeliitta and make reference to their history. Finn horses are referring to the Finnish horse breed which Hakkapeliitta descends from. This card makes that user Hakkapeliitta, Cossack, Dragoos, Oprechniknik, and Cavalry Archer get plus 15% hit points. Alfie Autonomy. This card enables Imperial upgrade for Carlines, Hakkapeliitta, and recruits. And a Hakkapeliitta, and simple even achievement of a Hakkapeliitta. Obviously. Interestingly, unlike the most of the Swedish unit, Hakkapeliitta speak Finnish, using the same dialogue file as Hakkapeli. This reflects their deep connection to the Finnish history. In this part of the video, I should be discussing the ability of Hakkapeliitta and how you can combine them with other cards to make the most of their potential. However, I must admit it, I've never personally played with Sweden in Age of Empires 3, but if you have experience using them, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Feel free to leave a comment with your strategies or tips on how to best utilize the Hakkapeliitta in your game. Therefore, let me conclude this video in a little bit different way. After the 30 Years' War, the Hakkapeliitta faded into obscurity. However, in the early 20th century, renewed interest in the emergence of various figures sought to shape the identity of a new Finnish state. The legacy of this warrior have left a deep mark on Finnish history, with monuments in their honor and even dedicated fate, highlighting their significance beyond just a military unit. They represent the earliest essence of the Finnish state, though it will be not fully realized until centuries later. For Finns, the Hakkapeliitta are a symbol of bravery, pride, and fearless attitude, determined warriors who always face strong enemies that have shaped their identity, yet always see them as rural barbarians who spread terror and destruction. Which perspective is correct? There is no simple answer. The history is written by in great scale. It's not about taking sides, but rather about understanding its nuances, where era-defined truths will live through it. That's all, and we will see in the next chapter.